fascinating.
And you haven't even seen the riddle test.
Honey Don't is shaping up to be one of the most mysterious and intriguingly offbeat films in recent memory, drawing attention not just for its cast and crew, but also for the cryptic and stylish way in which it's being marketed. As audiences continue to speculate about the film's genre-bending tone, narrative twists, and underlying themes, what has become increasingly clear is that Honey Don't is a cinematic event, tailor-made for fans of surreal drama, dark comedy, and unconventional storytelling, set in a world that blurs the lines between the real and the unreal. The film appears to play with perceptions of identity, memory, and the strange dissonance between human intention and consequence. With a title like Honey Don't, which evokes both endearment and warning, the narrative promises to walk that tightrope between love and danger, innocence and corruption, sweetness and subversion. From early internal information and teasers shared in industry circles, the film is said to revolve around a young woman named Honey, whose life is split between a pastel-colored facade of perfection and a much darker, twisted undercurrent that threatens to unravel everything she believes about herself. Honey is not just a character, but a symbol of control, of societal expectation, and of the creeping madness that can arise when reality begins to fray. Her world is stylized and artificial, a suburban wonderland where everything is too neat, too pleasant, and too polished to be real. The visual language of the film leans heavily into 1960s Americana, with bright colors, retro furniture, and a community where smiles are always worn and secrets are buried under manicured lawns. But beneath that veneer is a growing sense of unease as Honey begins to suspect that her reality has been carefully constructed, manipulated, and possibly even broadcasted for someone else's benefit. The film plays with time and perception in ways reminiscent of dream logic. Scenes bleed into each other, characters reappear in different roles, and Honey herself seems increasingly unsure of what's real. Her neighbors, always too friendly and too composed, begin to show signs of awareness that something is deeply wrong. Whispers in the walls, flickering lights, and subtle distortions in familiar spaces push Honey into a psychological spiral, making the viewer question if she is descending into madness or slowly waking up from an illusion. The narrative doesn't hold the audience's hand, but rather invites them to experience the unraveling alongside Honey, with symbolism that is both overt and layered. Clocks without hands, mirrors that don't reflect correctly, and a persistent radio jingle that seems to follow her everywhere hint at a larger, unseen force orchestrating her reality. Tonally, Honey Don't balances its dark themes with an ironic sense of humor. The absurdity of the world Honey lives in provides moments of comedy that are both unsettling and hilarious. A housewife support group discusses existential dread between baking tips. A local TV host delivers the weather with cryptic warnings about memory storms and identity fluctuations. The satire is biting, aimed squarely at the artificiality of domestic life and the pressure to conform, but it's delivered with such stylistic flair that it keeps the audience entertained even as it digs into uncomfortable truths. The dialogue is sharp, occasionally nonsensical in a way that makes sense only within the logic of the film's universe. The characters speak in loops, repeat certain phrases like mantras, and sometimes break the fourth wall to address questions Honey hasn't asked out loud. The supporting cast adds to the film's enigmatic charm. There's the dapper stranger who moves in next door and seems to know more about Honey than he should. There's the childlike best friend who always wears the same dress and never seems to age. There's the husband, perfect in every way but cold, mechanical, and always just out of emotional reach. And then there's the enigmatic figure known only as the director, whose presence looms over the film like a shadow behind the curtain. Whether literal or metaphorical, this director seems to be orchestrating the events of Honey's life, raising disturbing questions about free will, control, and performance. Is Honey being watched? Is she a character in a show? Is her rebellion scripted, or is she finally stepping off the page and reclaiming her narrative? As the film progresses, the boundaries between Honey's mind and the world around her begin to dissolve. Her dreams invade her waking life, and her memories rewrite themselves. She finds old photographs where her face has been replaced. Diary. Pages with entries she doesn't remember writing and videotapes of her performing scenes she doesn't recall filming. These elements contribute to a growing sense of paranoia, not just for Honey, but for the audience as well. Every object, every character, every setting becomes suspect, The film crafts a puzzle that resists easy answers, offering clues that contradict each other and symbols that shift meaning depending on the viewer's perspective. It's a film that invites repeat viewings, not to find closure, but to uncover deeper layers of meaning hidden beneath the candy-colored surface. The musical score is a critical part of the film's identity, oscillating between nostalgic pop tracks and dissonant experimental soundscapes. The music plays an active role in Honey's experience, often swelling during moments of confusion or clarity, sometimes even seeming to react to her emotions. One particularly haunting motif is a lullaby that plays whenever Honey is on the verge of remembering something important, an echo from childhood, or perhaps from a past life she's only just beginning to uncover. The interplay between sound and silence is masterfully handled, with quiet scenes punctuated by sudden bursts of noise that mirror Honey's internal turmoil. Even the background sounds, lawnmowers, birds, distant laughter, are engineered to feel slightly off, as if the entire soundtrack is being piped in from another dimension. Stylistically, the film owes a great deal to surrealist cinema and postmodern storytelling. Its visual language is rich with references to classic art, experimental theater, and vintage television. Scenes are often framed like old commercials or sitcom episodes, with exaggerated lighting and artificial staging. There are frequent cuts to abstract imagery, eyeballs, spinning wheels, collages of magazine clippings that serve as visual punctuation marks in Honey's journey. These flourishes are not random but thematic, reinforcing the idea that Honey's reality is a construct, one that can be edited, rewound, or overwritten at will. The cinematography is precise and calculated, using symmetry and repetition to convey both order and oppression. Each frame is a painting, and each movement a choreographed step in a dance Honey doesn't know she's performing. As the story hurtles toward its climax, the pressure on Honey becomes unbearable. The falsehoods of her life collapse all at once. Her house begins to physically fall apart, her friends glitch in and out of character, and her own image in the mirror begins to resist her movements. In a desperate bid for truth, Honey seeks out the origin of her world, chasing the echoes of her own memories through increasingly abstract and dreamlike environments. She moves from suburban streets to stage sets, from childhood bedrooms to sterile control rooms, each location revealing a new piece of the puzzle. She discovers reels of film labeled with her name, each one documenting a different version of her life. She sees scripts that end with her death, others with her escape, and one marked final cut that she refuses to read. The film never tells us definitively what's real, but in its final moments, Honey makes a choice that feels real to her. Whether it's a break from the simulation, an act of rebellion, or simply a return to self, it's portrayed as a moment of true agency. What sets Honey Don't apart is its refusal to be easily categorized. It's a psychological thriller wrapped in a pastel shell, a horror movie dressed as a melodrama, a science fiction parable disguised as a coming-of-age story. It explores serious ideas about identity, media, and autonomy while maintaining a playful, almost whimsical tone. It's a film that asks you to look deeper, to question what you're being shown, and to listen to what's being said between the lines. Its use of visual metaphor, narrative ambiguity, and thematic resonance puts it in the company of modern cinematic experiments, yet it remains wholly unique in its execution. The performances are deliberately stylized, the pacing is deliberately uneven, and the resolution is deliberately elusive. It's a film that doesn't seek to satisfy, but to stimulate, to provoke thought and discussion long after the credits roll. The buzz surrounding Honey Don't has only grown with time, as early industry screenings reportedly left audiences stunned and divided. Some describe it as a masterpiece, others as an impenetrable enigma, but all agree that it's an experience unlike anything they've seen before. The film's release strategy, too, is unconventional. Rather than relying on traditional marketing, it has used cryptic teasers, strange social media drops, and even planted Easter eggs in unrelated content. There are whispers that some online influencers received VHS tapes with unreleased footage, and others have reported finding QR codes at real-world locations that link to fragments of Honey's story. The film blurs the line between cinema and interactive experience, encouraging viewers to participate in the unraveling of the mystery. In many ways, Honey Don't feels like a reflection of our media-saturated age, a commentary on how we curate identities, perform realities, and lose ourselves in constructed narratives. It's a story about control,